If I want to scale an info coaching business in 2026 from 0 to over 100K a month, here's exactly how I will do it. In this video, we'll cover the mindset that's required for you to scale, how to have clarity on what the things to improve on, the different phases you have from 0 to over 100K and even to 1 million a month, and how to self-diagnose, find your bottleneck and the focus points to improve further. If you don't know me, my name is Thomas Groen. We grow operate a portfolio of over 2 million a month in the coaching industry, and we helped and consulted over 30 other individuals on how to monetize their brand and sell their expertise online. To get started, first, mindset. What I want you to understand is that you are going into the info coaching, you're already an info coach, and the thing to understand is you have a certain skill. You have an expertise that other people will beg for you to learn and to understand better. So if you have a skill from 0 to 10, and you are with knowledge, and you are like a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, you can help people below you, and you elevate them to the next level. And you need to have the internal conviction that you can actually help these people get to your level. And in exchange for that, you give them information, you give them the network, like resources, and in exchange they pay you money for that information. And the second thing that's very important to understand is you don't need a large audience. You don't need like 10K of followers, maybe even more. No, you can have a small audience, like even this guy. He started with 400 followers on Instagram, 0 on TikTok, and within the first few months he made over 200K in cash, which is quite fascinating. But if you understand how to position yourself right, how to resonate with your audience, and how everything is in congruence, then you can achieve those results. But you need to understand your ICP, your mechanism, your offer, how to create the content, which we'll cover in phase 0 to phase 2. Then the second thing you need, or the third thing actually, is the internal world is your external world. You need to have conviction in the thing you sell. And most of the business game and also personal game, I see it as the same thing. It's like you have a certain energy and energetic potential to get from A to B. Like this is 0, this is 100K, and there is like little change in between to get you from 0 to the 100K, and it's like an energetic flow. And if there's a constraint or an issue in the thing, you need to solve it, and it's also internally. If you don't see yourself as a coach, or you don't see yourself serving a large audience of people, you won't be able to do it. And the other thing, the internal world, is you are going to coach a lot of people, and it's a customer-centric world. It's info coaching. If you don't deliver well and your results are awful, you'll have negative reviews, you don't have any case studies, and it will hurt your ego. So you need to have customer approach first, focus on client results, because if you have great client results, the client will speak for themselves. And the fourth thing actually is the constraint. You have a lot of issues or things you think that are important, but in business there's always one constraint, it's the biggest issue, and if you resolve the constraint, if you resolve the bottleneck in that chain, the energy will flow further and you will have the next constraint, that you have more energetic potential, which means you have more resources, more money to actually focus on the next thing and focus it. But if you think there are a lot of problems and you focus the wrong things, you won't be able to make money online. Like maybe 10K a month, but I mean, if you're here, you want to make a little bit more than 10K a month one time, right? So now we dive into clarity. Clarity is actually how do I identify the single constraint in the business and how to resolve it. So how I like to view it is you can also view it backwards. Normally you improve on the front, like in front of the chain, like in the funnel, as you can see it right here. Normally you begin in the beginning because then you can increase the throughput through the system, and then you can increase the margins or the percentages to actually have more throughput in the system itself to get a higher closing rate and more cash at the end. But for you to have a mental model is look at the end. I mean, here are clients. If you don't have enough clients and you can have more clients, you need to close more deals. But if you don't have any calls to close, you need more qualified DMs. You need more people in your DM that are ready to buy. If you don't have people in your DM that are ready to buy, you need to look at your content, like at your marketing. But if you're creating a lot of content, a lot of impressions, a lot of views, but people won't go to your DM and really won't convert, then you need to look at your positioning. Look at your ICP, the way you resonate with them. Do you speak to their pain points, to their desires? And actually, do they feel understood? And the way the marketing space is now going is people value authenticity and they also value to be understood. If you can really understand someone, your audience, they will actually convert because they feel like, oh, this guy knows me better than even my therapist almost. So that's very important. Then we do a little bit more deep dive in how the numbers actually work. These are some rough sketches of numbers. You have like 1 million impressions, maybe 5K followers, 200 DMs, 70 call books, showed, closed, success, upsell. There are 3 pillars actually. It's the acquisition part, which is like the marketing, the appointment setting, and the sales. Then the delivery part, and then the control system after that, or underneath that actually. But if you look at some numbers here, your closing rate is 29%, which is awful. If you are organic, your closing rate should be 80%. If you are running paid ads profile funnel, it's still 80% because people are going into your organic funnel and need to be nurtured by the content, and then closing rates easily because they come in the call very convinced. If you are running paid ads directly like a VSL or a webinar, then closing rate is most of the time 40%-ish. Then your show-up rate, organic-wise, should also be like 80%, maybe even 90%. And your show-up rate on paid should be like 60%. If these numbers are like 29% or 50%, then you need to focus on these numbers first, because as you can see here, if you increase your show-up rate from 50 to 75%, your call close will also increase by actually 50%, and your revenue will go from 100K to 150K. But if you're running like 30K in ad spend, for example, at one point, this is a ROAS 3.3, but if you do it like this, it's a ROAS 5. Like that's way better, and you can scale a lot harder, get more throughput in the system. Then you have your calls booked. From a follower to a call booked, here's like 1.4%, but the baseline, or what it should be, is like 10%. If you don't book in 10% of the calls from new followers, what happens is that your content or doesn't resonate with your audience enough, like you get a lot of views, but you get the wrong views and the wrong followers, or your appointment setting process is wrong. It's either one of those things. And then you have impressions. Impressions don't mean shit. Like you can generate a lot of views. We have one guy, he got like 50K followers. It's not one of our clients, 50K followers, but he converted 0. And then you just numb the setter with so much volume and he doesn't know what to do. You have some things you can do. If you have a lot of volume and a lot of views, you need to do certain positioning adjustment, and you can increase like qualification processes in between that people will flow through you again, so the closing rate will be higher. Then the third thing is like the 3 pillars we have is the acquisition, which your content, your positioning, your setting, your sales is basically the front end of the business. And info coaching business is largely on the front end. Then your fulfillment part, which is the coaching results and community, actually delivering on the promises you made. And underneath there's control. It's your agents, it's your data, it's your dashboarding. It's the ability to have this data every moment in the week. You look at it maybe once a week, twice a week on a monthly basis, and you see, okay, this is the bottleneck of the business. This is where we can improve upon. So now we dive into the phases. As we see it, you have 9 phases in the info coaching industry. The first businesses or the first phases are actually more brand and marketing related. Then it becomes a sales issue, and afterwards it becomes a systems and team issue. To dive in the first phase, it's if you start out and you want to make money online with an info coaching business, you see other people doing it and you don't know why. You need to understand, to enter this market, you need to have one valuable skill at least. Like maybe it's e-com, maybe it's trading, maybe you're a fitness coach, maybe you're Airbnb. You need to have something that other people want or actually could benefit from. And for you, you need to understand what it is. So you ask yourself questions. We have a personal brand strategy intake doc and a few other docs to better understand and get you in the mindset to understand, okay, what do I need? But what you need here is you need to have clarity on your ICP. You need to generate some clarity on your offer. What's the thing you can fulfill upon? So basically the skill you have. And you also need a little bit of clarity on your mechanism. Because if you understand your ICP, you understand their pain points and you understand their desires. And from that moment on, you can start creating like very easily content. And the best way to determine your ICP is most of the time, make it the younger version of you. Make it the version of you from maybe 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. What was his starting point? What was his knowledge? Where was he hanging around? And what does he want? And then you create content for that person. And it also makes you more fulfilled because you're helping your younger version. Like the internal child of you think, okay, yeah, I'm making some progress in the world. I'm growing. So once you are in phase 1, you basically, or phase 0, you just decide what's the thing I'm selling, who I'm speaking towards. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because to move from phase 0 to phase 1, the one thing you need to do is start creating content. You need to have your voice out there. You can optimize sales, appointment setting, delivery, whatever it is, but you don't have any content, so no one will see it. Then you move on to phase 1, and in phase 1, like the biggest issue is still your identity. It's still your ICP isn't very clear because you're making between 5 and 10K a month. Your offer isn't very clear, your mechanism isn't very clear, and your content strategy is still all over the place. If you want to make money in this phase, what you can do is you can look at your network. A lot of money from this point, if you don't have any content, comes from referrals, people you know. But it's still an issue. Focus on your ICP, focus on your offer and your mechanism. But as soon as you start closing your first deals, what I always recommend, because we want to have a customer first approach, is start immediately with a very simple client tracker. And we got this client tracking sheet, which basically gets the name, the email, and the Discord. Like we use Discord, you can use Slack or whatever is the hosting platform. You can get the order value in, the number of installments in the days of the program, then the installment terms or the installments like agreement, you can place them here. And at the end, what you see is you see how many days are left, when the next payment date is, how many payments are behind, the outstanding amount, and if the payments are paid or not. And also here's the outstanding amount. So if you look at the sheet maybe once a week, or you look at it daily every morning, for example, you have a rough understanding of who needs to get paid, by when the coaching ends, etc., etc. Well, we like to do it in a very simple system setup. You can use a Monday for it, a ClickUp or whatever it is. And you need to have like a few systems here. This Slack, so once you have a call or something else, you can get the message in Slack itself. You can use a Monday. We have a simple custom template for the backend. And you need to have things like a Net Promoter Score. So for example, every week we send here a client feedback form. This is for one of our clients, a close society. It's a Dutch one, so you probably won't understand it. There's like 1 week, okay, here's the review, what do you think? And then they get sent this form. Here they fill it in. Here we get the Net Promoter Score, what's the client satisfaction. And here we get more information in depth about what we can improve in the business itself. And then if they don't respond a week later, they get a message, hey, I saw that you didn't fill in last week, please fill it in. And this is all automated. This is all based on the triggers you can send within your custom systems. And here we have client data, which you can use for the marketing, improving delivery, improving the sales process. So this is all information there is. Also, what we do in this phase is we have customer onboarding. I think it's this one. Like a very simple onboarding SOP, which you gather more data about what actually is the client that converts to you. So we ask questions, where did they come from, what did they see first, their experience, how new they are, and the legal questions to get actually the contract going. And then the last thing we also have here is the contracting, which is actually more of a second phase, but you want to have the contracting from the get-go to make sure people will actually pay. And it's not weird to have a contract because people will agree upon your information so they can sign the contract. Actually, to promote to the second phase, you need to create more content and you need to start closing more, and then the issue will be how to differentiate. You already are starting to create some content and you know about your identity already, that your positioning needs to be stronger. So your mechanism needs to be stronger. What makes you unique? What makes you different from the rest of the market? At this level, you start to make like 10K to 30K a month. In this thing, you already want to start like all the previous systems, and you also want to have like a CRM. Very simple, where all the coaching calls are starting to come in. So all the data is in there and you can run with the AI agents already to get more customer feedback and more customer information. Because we track everything from the videos they saw, the lead magnets they requested, from the like this appointment setting conversation, the closing call, the coaching call, everything is in the system. It doesn't have to be that in-depth in the beginning, but you need to capture certain information. From that point, from differentiate, you go to attract. From attract, it basically means you need to start producing massive amounts of content. And attract is, you need to see what is working, what's not working. And we use this data tracker for organic marketing wise. We see what's performing well, what angles, what hooks are working well, which resonate with the market, which is not resonating with the market. And from that point, we know, okay, we focus on the content that will actually work for you. And from there on, you can graduate to the next thing if you start to have a better understanding and have more throughput in your DM. Then we'll go to 4, which is convert. From this moment, you need to start hiring new people. It's your team members. You need to have your appointment setter in your DM. You need to have a sales rep. And you need to start hiring a coach in this phase. Your coach already can be hired if you have 8 or 10-ish clients, because you need to free up your time. In the beginning, I always recommend coach yourself, but afterwards you need to hire a coach that will do the delivery for you. Where do you find a coach? Is or in your network, like people from already experience from when you learned your skill, or it's your first students and you're very close with one and they believe in your vision, they believe in the product, and you can promote them to a coach, you can train them, and they are fucking loyal. They will stay with you forever because they went through the program, they achieved a certain amount of success, so they believe it and they have the conviction again. So here you hire the appointment setter, the sales rep. If you want to an appointment setter or a sales rep, please send me a DM on Instagram. Then we can search and maybe give you one setter or a sales rep. And once you have that, you need to start tracking the data also from how they perform, because you want to understand what is happening. You hire someone, there will be data, they will set appointments, they will take closing calls. But if you don't have the data, you don't know how they perform and you won't fire them. as soon as you have the data, you can actually track, set KPIs for them, hold them accountable, and if they don't hit the targets, fire them. Fire them fast, hire them fast. And from this point also on, we want to focus more on the data side for paid acquisition at this level, and from the level below, you'll start to run paid ads. So we have the data tracking, we see exactly what happens for each ad campaign we run. This for another client, but we build like the infrastructure in the backend, is we see actually which campaign converts, which campaign and ad actually get certain opt-ins, certain type forms, certain leads, and how many cash each ad and each angle generates. You need to have this information in depth because otherwise you're like running blind in your business, which is wrong. From there on, you go to multiply. You start to have these systems in place to allow scale. Because at this point, you're making like 100, 300K a month, and you have a lot of clients and you can't focus on each client individual, so you need to have your data in place. From the beginning, you need to have your net promoter score to understand if your clients are getting value or not, if they're happy or not. And also other systems need to be in place for your appointment setting, your content system need to be there, your delivery system, your finance system need to be there. Like you need to have your dashboarding there to identify anomalies and to see how the business is going from a higher level. Because at this point, you also want to place yourself more outside the business already. Then we go to capture. What we often see at this phase also is also from 30K a month already, is the money and the systems leak is there. People are closing deals. You maybe have like 10 clients and it's somewhere in the notes, but you don't know when their coaching is about to end or don't know when their installment needs to be collected. So then you need to have your financial overview ready. You see when they need to pay, what's being paid every month, are the installments being hit? And if they don't pay, very unfortunately, you have a tuning sequence that actually tries to recover the payment, but if they don't pay, you stop the coaching. It's that simple. Like they don't pay, you don't deliver. But if you think, okay, maybe I want to deliver, maybe he pays, okay, you can do, but it's your own risk. And from there on, you move further, you go towards command, which is the system. You go take a higher level, you start hiring new people in the team, and you start working on what actually make sure that the right leadership positions are there. You start to have a creative director, added this already before, a sales manager, appointment setter manager, delivery manager, and someone on finance, and make sure that everyone is there so you can be the CEO and actually manage it properly. And then from that point, you have one level above that, which is compound. And compound is the thing, it will compound the team. And from the team, what it means, you place yourself outside of the business. As a leader, you will have the vision for the business. At the first point at command, you still created content. At this point, you can create content, but the way to actually scale further to multiple 7 figures is to hire other brands and have other people from your coaching actually, or you can hire from the outside to be ambassadors for your brand. So you have multiple ICPs that you can target. Because how you can see this is compound. You have, like if you have Tom, it's like TAM is the total addressable market, and then solution available market and service obtainable market. It's like, this is the entire industry, for example. This is like what you can obtain or what's available, and this is what you can obtain because of your demographic. Like I'm Dutch, I'm blonde, I'm a white, and I can reach a certain audience. But here you need to hire maybe a woman, maybe someone from a different country, maybe a little bit different experience, so you can reach and increase the amount of people that you can target with your brand and with your audience. And from this moment on, you have your leadership and your vision in place. Then, to diagnose which phase you are at, you need to have which pillar is your weakest link at this moment, what is the underperforming metric inside your business, and what would compound if you fix it in 30 days. What is your current constraint? And if you don't know which phase you're in, I made a roadmap that you can answer a few questions, and based on that, you'll get your own personalized roadmap sent through, which the focus areas you need to improve to make more money, and what are the constraints in your current business. You can do this with a link in the description, or you can go to the website here. It's Outscaled/roadmap, and then you can fill in the details. You get it in your email, and you can improve your business. So this was the video. If you have any questions or things are fake, or you want to have a certain topic you want a more in-depth video about, please leave it in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram, Thomas Groen, and I'll try to make a video about it to give you the information to scale further and make more money. Without further ado, start requesting the roadmap and implement it and make some money.